Have you ever stared into the deep, dark ocean and felt like something was staring back? For most of us, that's just a fleeting, spooky thought. But for one diver, that feeling became a terrifying reality. This is the story of a routine dive that turned into an encounter with something unexplainable. Something that mimicked the human form in the most unsettling way possible. Our story begins with a seasoned diver named Alex, a man who had spent more time beneath the waves than on land. For him, the ocean wasn't a place of fear. It was a sanctuary, a world of vibrant colors and silent beauty. He was on a solo recreational dive off a remote coastline, exploring a familiar reef system he knew like the back of his hand. The day was perfect, calm seas, crystal clear visibility, and the sunlight piercing the surface, creating those beautiful, dancing rays that divers love. Alex descended, his breathing steady and rhythmic, the only sound in his world. He passed schools of parrotfish, watched a lazy sea turtle drift by, and felt completely at peace. It was about 80 feet down, gliding along the edge of a deep underwater trenchy massive drop-off into pitch-black darkness known locally as the Abyss. He'd been to the edge before, but never felt the need to venture deeper. It was a place that commanded respect. That's when he saw it. Out of the corner of his eye, something moved in the blue haze, just beyond the reef's edge. It was large, and its movement wasn't like any fish he'd ever seen. It was slow, deliberate, and strangely vertical. Curiosity piqued. Alex stopped and hovered, trying to get a better look. As it drifted closer, his heart began to pound against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat that suddenly felt deafening in the silence of the deep. It had a shape. A disturbingly familiar shape. It was long and slender, with two appendages that looked like arms and two more that resembled legs. At the top, there was a rounded form that could only be described as a head. It was a perfect, life-size silhouette of a human being, but it was made of something else. It wasn't solid. It seemed to be composed of a shimmering, almost gelatinous material, like a jellyfish, but it held its form with an unnatural rigidity. Alex's mind raced. Was it a strange piece of debris? A cleverly designed decoy? But it moved. It swayed gently in the current, its arms drifting slightly, mimicking the relaxed posture of a person just floating there, watching. There were no scuba tanks, no bubbles, no fins. Just this silent, human-shaped phantom hanging in the water. The initial curiosity was rapidly being replaced by a primal fear. The human brain is wired to recognize human shapes, and seeing one where it absolutely shouldn't be is one of the most jarring experiences imaginable. He checked his gauges. Air, depth, tempo, normal. He wasn't suffering from nitrogen narcosis, the rapture of the deep that can cause hallucinations. Tease was real. He slowly raised his underwater camera, his hands trembling slightly. He needed to document this. Who would ever believe him otherwise? As he focused the lens, the figure seemed to react. It turned, slowly, to face him directly. Even from a distance, with no discernible features, Alex felt a chilling sense of being observed. It was as if this thing, this humanoid entity, knew he was there. It felt intelligent. It wasn't just drifting, it was waiting. It held its position perfectly still, its form a dark void against the deep blue of the trench. The serene underwater world had transformed into a stage for a surreal and terrifying play. Alex hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to ascend, to get back to the safety of the boat and the sunlit world. But the scientist in him, the explorer, was captivated. What was this thing? A new species? A natural phenomenon, or something else entirely? He decided to get a little closer, moving with extreme caution, never taking his eyes off the figure. He inched forward, his fins barely moving, trying to be as non-threatening as possible. As he closed the distance, more details became visible. The surface of the entity wasn't smooth. It was textured, almost like rippling water or shifting sand, but it was all contained within that definite human shape. It absorbed the light, making it look incredibly dark, almost like a hole in the ocean itself. And there was no sound, no vibration, nothing to indicate propulsion or life in the way we understand it. It was just there. He was now about 30 feet away from it, The sheer wrongness of the situation was overwhelming. It was the ultimate example of the uncanny valley. It looked human, but it was so fundamentally not human that it sent shivers down his spine. The figure then did something that made Alex's blood run cold. It raised one of its arms. The movement was fluid, graceful, and unmistakably intentional. It wasn't a random drift in the current. It was a gesture. It beckoned him, a slow, curling motion of its hand, inviting him to come closer, to come deeper into the abyss it guarded. That was it. That was the moment the last shred of curiosity was extinguished by pure, unadulterated terror. This wasn't a natural creature. This was a mimic, a lure. The gesture was too human. To knowing it was a trap. The trench behind it was no longer just a dark part of the ocean. It was a lair. Alex didn't need any more convincing. He slammed his fins down hard, kicking backward, turning his back on the entity for only a second to reorient himself towards the surface. He began his ascent, much faster than safety protocols would recommend, but he didn't care. He kept glancing down, his heart hammering in his chest. The figure remained where it was, a stationary silhouette, watching him flee. It made no move to follow. It was as if its purpose was simply to be seen, to offer its silent, terrifying invitation. Even as he ascended, he could still see it. A tiny human-shaped speck getting smaller and smaller until it was finally swallowed by the blue. Breaking the surface was like being reborn. He gasped for air, ripping his regulator from his mouth, and frantically swam for the boat. He scrambled aboard, his body shaking uncontrollably, not from the cold, but from the adrenaline and fear. He sat there for a long time, staring out at the placid water, the bright sun feeling like a protective shield. He checked his camera. The footage was there. Shaky, yes, but clear. A dark, human-shaped figure, hanging in the deep, beckoning him into the abyss. In the years since, Alex has shown the footage to marine biologists, oceanographers, and paranormal investigators. No one has been able to definitively identify what he saw. Some suggest it was a bizarre type of siphonophore, or a colony of microorganisms creating an illusion. Others lean towards more fringe theories, but none of the scientific explanations account for the intelligent, deliberate, and chillingly human gesture. Alex rarely dives alone anymore. The ocean is no longer just a sanctuary for him. He knows that beneath the beautiful, sunlit surface, in the crushing dark of the deep, there are things we don't understand, and sometimes those things look back. The footage remains one of the most compelling and unsettling pieces of evidence of the unknown mysteries hidden in our oceans. It serves as a stark reminder that we are just visitors in a world that is not our own. A world where sometimes the deepest, darkest corners hold things that mimic our own shape. What do you think Alex saw that day? Was it a new species? A trick of the light? Or something far stranger? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy exploring the unexplained, make sure to subscribe for more stories from the edge of our world. Stay curious, and stay safe.